It was about a year ago, my wife Ruth convinced me that I should join her at a CERT training. Now CERT, as I learned, stood for Community Emergency Response Team, and this was a training. And so I recall going for a number of weeks on a regular basis to learn such important skills as how to use a fire extinguisher, pulling the pin and where to aim it at the fire, how to make a tourniquet in the case of bleeding, and a splint, and some other important details of how to respond in an emergency as a citizen. One of the things that we also learned was this idea of triage in an emergency. Going into a situation and assessing the injuries of the people involved and deciding if they needed immediate assistance, if they could be delayed and receive later assistance from first responders, if they had a minor injury and you could help them walk out of the situation, and finally, if they were dead. I thought, oh my goodness, I have the responsibility of deciding if somebody was dead in a very short time and saying, okay, we'll mark them so the first responders don't respond. That was a major thing that I hadn't even thought about. And I was thinking how it was interesting that going through this experience helped me exercise my practical imagination. I had never imagined that I could be in the situation of a disaster, and just in the sense of practicing it, I could imagine myself in this situation. Well, even after a number of weeks of training, I still didn't feel comfortable, and I knew that I would have to go back and practice and imagine what that might be like. Well, for me, in religious community, I get to practice another kind of imagination, and that is my moral imagination. How I might imagine the world that I dream that we can live into. And so I come together, like I said, to shape what is of worth to me as a Unitarian Universalist, as a religious leader, and to imagine the world that I want to, with you, bring into being, envisioning new and creative alternatives through that moral imagination. In some ways, it's that opportunity to dream. Harsha Walia, a Canadian activist and journalist, writes that I think the notion of dreaming in a time where we are told that it is foolish, futile, or not useful is one of the most revolutionary things that we can do. So I invite you to practice dreaming, to practice with your moral imagination, so that when the time comes, we can build the world that we dream of. May it be so.